My name is Patricia. I'm 58 years old. Death wasn't supposed to teach me about forgiveness, but when I found myself standing face to face with the child I lost 35 years ago, everything I thought I knew about redemption shattered. What happened next, what I was shown, changed everything. This isn't the story I planned to tell, but it's the one I can't keep to myself. Before I begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Type the name of your country or state in the comments. And if you believe in God's power to heal even our deepest wounds, just write Amen. On March 6th, I died on the operating table during a routine gallbladder surgery in Atlanta, Georgia. But my story doesn't begin there. It starts long before the monitors went flat and the nurses scrambled to bring me back. It starts in quiet places, in boardrooms, in late-night offices, in empty apartments where the silence grows heavier with each passing year. You see, for most of my life, people looked at me and saw success. Senior partner at one of the top law firms in Atlanta, corner office, designer suits, a name that meant something in the world of corporate litigation. I played with the big dogs, and I won. Cases, bonuses, promotions, I had them all. But when I went home, there was no one waiting for me. Maybe you know what it's like to give everything to your work, to chase success until it becomes your identity. I told everyone I didn't want kids, that I was too focused for marriage, that I was free. But the truth is, freedom isn't the same as peace. Every night, I needed 2 glasses of red wine just to fall asleep. I kept a bottle of sleeping pills on my nightstand and a backup in my purse. My phone never stopped buzzing during the day, but no one ever called just to ask how I was doing. I hadn't spoken to my sister Jennifer in almost 4 years. She tried. God knows she did. She'd call on holidays, send pictures of her kids, invite me to dinner. But I couldn't face her. Not with her happy little family, her 4 beautiful children, her strong faith, her peace. It reminded me too much of what I lost, what I gave away. You see, when I was 22, during my 2nd year of law school, I got pregnant. His name was David. We were young. In love, maybe. I don't even know anymore. When I saw the 2 pink lines, my hands started shaking. I felt like my whole future was slipping away. I didn't tell him. I scheduled the appointment the next morning, went in alone, and walked out as if nothing had happened. A week later, I broke up with him, told him I didn't think we were a good match anymore. He cried. I didn't. Not then. I told myself I did what I had to do, that I had a bright future ahead, that this was just a bump in the road, and I never talked about it again. But every year, on March 12th, I felt it. This weight, like something inside me was mourning. I would find myself crying without knowing why. I'd cancel meetings. I'd drink too much. I'd curl up on the couch with the curtains drawn and not answer the phone. No one knew. Not my colleagues, not my friends, not even Jennifer. For 35 years, I carried that secret like a stone in my chest. I went through seasons where I tried to fill the emptiness. I dated a little in my late 30s, but nothing ever stuck. The men I met either wanted a family I couldn't give or were just chasing status like I was. I tried therapy, I got on antidepressants, I even took up yoga for a while. But nothing touched that deep ache. That question I couldn't answer. What if? What if I had made a different choice? What if I had been braver? What if that child would have changed my life in ways I never imagined? As the years passed, that question grew heavier. My parents are both in their 80s now, sweet people, Southern Baptist, traditional. They never understood why I didn't marry. I think they wondered if I was hiding something. They were right. I'd visit them out of duty, not joy. My mother would always ask, "Are you seeing anyone, honey?" And I'd laugh it off. But each time I saw the disappointment in her eyes, something in me died a little. Then, last winter, I started having stomach pain. I ignored it, of course. Work was too busy. We were prepping for trial. I lived on coffee and stress. By February, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The doctors told me I had gallstones and scheduled a simple laparoscopic surgery. I wasn't afraid at first. I've been through worse. But the night before the operation, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about death. about my soul, about her. I say her because somehow I always felt it was a girl. I don't know why. I never saw her face, but I used to imagine it sometimes in my quietest moments. Soft curls, bright eyes, maybe my smile. The morning of the surgery, I sat in the hospital bed staring out the window as the sun came up over Atlanta. Nurses came in and out. A surgeon smiled politely. They said it would be over in less than an hour. As they wheeled me into the operating room, I felt strange. Not just nervous, exposed. Like the walls I'd built around my heart were finally cracking. They put the mask over my face. The anesthesiologist said, "Count back from 10. I got to 8. And just before everything faded, I whispered something I hadn't said in 35 years. "I'm sorry." Then, nothing. But that nothing? It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something I never could have imagined. Something that changed everything. I thought dying would feel like falling, like sinking into a black hole, or vanishing into cold silence. But it didn't. At first there was a sharp pull in my chest, like a rubber band snapping. Then everything went quiet. Not scary quiet, just still. The way the world gets still after a heavy snowfall. I remember thinking, is this it? Am I gone? I could still hear voices, shouting, rushing, a woman saying, "We're losing her." But it felt far away, like I was listening through a thick wall. Then something strange happened. I opened my eyes, but not the eyes I'd always known. It was like I had left my body, and now I was above it. I saw myself lying there on the table, pale, small, tubes everywhere, machines beeping in panic. It was surreal, like watching someone else's life. I felt sorry for her, for me. But I didn't feel fear. Not anymore. In fact, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Peace. Not the kind you get from a spa day or a weekend vacation. No. This peace went deep. It was like every storm inside me had suddenly stopped. I don't know how long I hovered there. Time felt different, slower, softer. Then slowly I started to drift upward, like a feather caught in a gentle breeze. Colors around me began to shift. The cold, sterile lights of the hospital faded into a warm, golden glow. The kind of light that doesn't hurt your eyes, but fills you with comfort, like being wrapped in a warm blanket. I floated through what looked like soft clouds. The air felt thick with love. That's the only way I can describe it. Love had weight. It was in the air, in the light, in the silence. Then, just ahead, I saw something. A meadow, bright, open, and beautiful. Grass that shimmered like it had been kissed by heaven. Trees tall and strong, their leaves whispering in a language my soul somehow understood. A gentle stream ran through the middle, clear as crystal. Birds sang. Not songs like we know, but harmonies that made my heart ache with joy. And laughter. Children laughing. I turned toward the sound and saw them. Dozens of children running and playing near a sunlit playground. Swings, slides, a little wooden bridge. But it wasn't just the place that took my breath away. It was them. They glowed with joy. No sadness, no pain, just pure light and tiny bodies. And then I saw her. She stood at the edge of the field, barefoot in a white dress that danced in the breeze. About 7 years old. Hair like chestnut silk, eyes wide and deep, like she could see into my soul. She smiled and ran. "Mommy!" The word hit me like a flood. I fell to my knees as she reached me, wrapping her arms around my neck. Her embrace was warm, real. She smelled like sunshine and flowers, and something familiar I couldn't quite place, maybe a memory that never got to happen. "I've been waiting for you," she whispered. I couldn't speak. I just held her and wept. 35 years of guilt, shame, and silence broke loose in my chest. "I'm sorry," I choked out. "I'm so sorry." She leaned back, cupped my face in her little hands, and smiled. Not a trace of anger, not even sadness. "I know," she said softly, "and I forgive you. I've always forgiven you. I love you so much, Mommy." I sobbed into her shoulder. I didn't know forgiveness could feel like this. So tender, so freeing. But how? I asked. How are you so full of love? She looked up and pointed behind me. Because he taught me. And there, just beyond the trees, stood a figure in white. Jesus, tall, strong, gentle eyes that carried eternity in them, and love. So much love I felt it pressing into every broken part of me. He didn't say a word, not yet. He just looked at me. And I knew. I was known. Fully. Every secret. Every sin. Every fear. And still loved. I took my daughter's hand, and together we walked toward him. I don't know how to describe what it felt like to stand in front of him. Jesus. His presence wasn't loud or demanding. It didn't need to be. It was everything. Gentle, strong, steady. Like the sun and the sky and the sea all somehow wrapped into one being. He smiled at me and I felt safe. Not judged, not exposed, just known, completely, and still deeply loved. My daughter held my hand tightly. Her warmth grounded me, even in that holy place. Jesus stepped closer, and every fear I'd ever had began to melt. His eyes, oh, those eyes, held lifetimes. They weren't just looking at me, they were reading me, like he could see every corner of my soul and loved every corner anyway. Patricia, he said softly. Even the way he said my name made me want to fall to my knees again, like he'd known it forever, like he'd never stopped saying it. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out at first. My voice was caught somewhere behind decades of guilt, shame, and secrets. I swallowed hard. I don't deserve this. I didn't protect her. I threw away the most precious gift, and you welcome me like this? Jesus didn't flinch. He reached out and touched my shoulder with the gentlest hand. You are not the sum of your worst decision, he said. That broke something wide open in me. I fell to the ground and sobbed. All the years I'd spent punishing myself, carrying shame like a second skin, pretending I was fine. None of it could stand in the light of his love. I was selfish, I whispered. I cared more about law school than life. I wanted control. I didn't trust you, and I shut everyone out afterward. Jennifer, my parents, David. I never let anyone in. Jesus knelt beside me, not like a king stepping down, but like a friend coming close. You were afraid, he said, afraid of failure, afraid of being alone, afraid that your life would be ruined. The world told you that your worth was in your achievements, that motherhood was weakness, that your pain should be hidden. He looked into my eyes, but I never stopped reaching for you. My breath caught. It was true. I could see it now. The quiet invitations, the late-night thoughts that made me cry, the times Jennifer called, the way my mother still smiled even when I pushed her away. God had been trying to reach me through all of it. You believed the lie, Jesus said, that success is more important than love. That power matters more than people. But I created you for relationship, with me and with others. I looked down at my hands. They had built so much, and yet held so little. What about all the others? I asked. The women like me, the ones who hide their pain, who are told to just move on, who smile at work and cry themselves to sleep. Jesus closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, they held something I can only describe as sorrow and love wrapped together. They are my daughters, he said, and many of them are suffering in silence. Not because I don't forgive, but because they don't believe they can be forgiven. I felt that prison of guilt, the silence, the shame that has no voice because the world tells you you're fine now. Jesus continued, there are forces in your world that feed this lie. They twist truth into fear. They tell young women they must choose between their future and their child, that they are alone, that no one will help them, that no one will understand. He paused, then added gently, "Even some of my churches have forgotten how to love the wounded." That hit hard. Even as a child, I'd felt that subtle divide. You're either good or broken, saved or too far gone. I chose ambition over grace because I didn't believe grace was for people like me. "But you still came for me," I said, almost in disbelief. "I always come," Jesus whispered. "I am never far from the brokenhearted." I looked over at my daughter. She was sitting near a tree, watching the stream, her feet dangling in the water. She looked back at me and smiled, like sunshine. "She was never alone," Jesus said, following my gaze. "No child who returns to me is ever unloved. She has known only joy, only peace. But she has waited for this moment, your healing." I walked to her, dropped to my knees again, and took her tiny face in my hands. "I don't deserve you," I said through tears. She giggled. "But I want you, Mommy. I always did. I prayed for you to know how loved you are." I looked at Jesus. "I don't want to leave. I want to stay. Please." I meant it. With all my heart. For the first time in my life, I felt whole. No pain. No pressure. No hiding. Just love. Jesus walked to me and placed his hand over my heart. "I know you want to stay," he said. "And one day you will. But there is still work to do. There are many daughters, just like you, who are still hurting, still believing they are beyond my love." I shook my head slowly. "But I don't know how to fix this. I'm just one person. I've made so many mistakes." He smiled, a knowing, patient smile. "Mistakes do not disqualify you. They prepare you. Your wounds will become bridges. Your story will be a light in the darkness. You don't need to save them. You only need to speak." I stood slowly, heart pounding. "You want me to tell them about you? About her?" "Yes," he said. "Tell them that their pain is seen, that their silence matters, that healing is possible, that they are not alone, and that I love them completely." I glanced back at my daughter. She nodded as if she already knew this was coming. "Will I see her again?" I asked. Jesus nodded. "Yes, nothing can separate what I have joined in love. This goodbye is only for a moment." I knelt once more and wrapped my daughter in a final hug. She whispered in my ear, "Go help the mommies who are hurting. Tell them it's okay to feel sad. Tell them I love them too." My heart broke and healed at the same time. Jesus stepped forward and took my hand. The light around him began to grow brighter, warmer. I felt it pulling at me, not forcing me out, but gently sending me forward. And then he spoke the last words I remember before I left that meadow. "Now go, my daughter, and walk in freedom. You are loved, you are forgiven, you are mine." I came back with a gasp, not a gentle breath, but a sudden aching drag of air that felt like fire in my lungs. My eyes flew open to harsh lights. Machines were beeping. A nurse was yelling. Someone shouted, "She's back!" And just like that, the meadow was gone. The light, the peace, her little arms around my neck, gone. Tears streamed down my face before I even understood where I was. My chest hurt. My throat burned. But none of that pain came close to the ache in my spirit. I didn't want to come back. For a few moments, I just wept quietly, letting the reality of this world settle over me like a heavy coat. The soft warmth of heaven had been replaced with the cold of hospital sheets and the sharp sting of IV needles. But then I remembered. Go help the mommies who are hurting. Tell them I love them too. Your story will be a light in the darkness. You are mine. Those words became the ground beneath my feet. They held me up when my body was weak, and they guided me when I was too overwhelmed to understand what had just happened. The doctors called it a miracle. I'd been clinically dead for 19 minutes. No brain damage, no complications, just back. But I wasn't who I was before. That old version of Patricia, the one who buried her pain under work and wine and pride, died on that table. What returned was someone new. The first thing I did after being released from the hospital wasn't check my email or call the office. I called my sister, Jennifer. She picked up on the second ring. I couldn't even say hello. I just started crying. When I finally managed to speak, I said, "Jen, I need to tell you something. Everything." She came over that night. No makeup, still in her mom clothes. She wrapped me in a hug I hadn't felt in years. We sat at my kitchen table until 2 a.m., and I told her everything about the abortion, the years of pain, the meadow, our little girl. Jennifer didn't judge me. She wept with me. We prayed together. And for the first time since we were teenagers, we laughed. Real laughter. The kind that bubbles up from a deep place inside. She said, "I've missed you, Pat." And I realized I'd missed her too. I'd missed life. I didn't go back to work right away. Actually, I've cut my hours in half. No more 70-hour weeks. No more proving myself through billable hours and courtroom wins. Instead, I've been volunteering my legal skills to support pregnancy resource centers around Georgia. I help them navigate zoning laws, medical compliance, and nonprofit protections. It's not glamorous, but it's meaningful. I also started a small, confidential support group in my church for women carrying the silent grief of past abortions. We meet once a week. No judgment. Just love. We cry. We pray. We tell the truth. Healing is happening. I'm also spending time with Jennifer's kids, my nieces and nephews. I used to avoid their birthday parties. Now I show up early and stay late. I bring cupcakes. I help with school projects. I babysit just to give Jennifer and her husband a date night. One day, my niece Emma crawled into my lap and said, "Aunt Patty, I'm glad you're not busy all the time anymore." That one sentence was worth more than every promotion I ever got. Everything looks different now. I wake up early just to sit on the porch and watch the sun rise. I call my parents every Sunday just to say, "I love you." I read scripture out loud in the mornings, not because I should, but because I want to. I look people in the eyes now. I really listen, because I know what matters. People, love, eternal things. Success is good, but it's not the goal. Achievements are fine, but they won't hug you in the dark. Money helps, but it won't meet you when you die and call you mommy. And here's the most surprising part. I'm no longer angry with myself. I don't hate that 22-year-old girl who was scared and confused. I see her now with the same love Jesus had for me. I forgive her because he forgave me. If you're reading this and carrying your own silent pain, maybe from a decision you made years ago, maybe from a mistake that still makes you cry in the middle of the night, please hear me. You are not beyond his love. Jesus doesn't keep a tally of your wrongs. He isn't standing with a clipboard waiting to shame you. He's reaching, even now, especially now. He wants to heal the parts of you you've buried. I used to think God only loved the good people, the ones who never messed up, but I met him, and I can tell you, he's even more beautiful than we imagine. He is love and compassion and truth and peace, all wrapped into one. And he hasn't given up on you. Now I live with an eternal perspective. Every decision I make, I ask, will this matter in heaven? And every person I meet, I wonder, what pain are they carrying that I can help lighten? The world is full of people who are barely holding on, people like I was. But now I carry hope in me like a torch. And I will spend the rest of my days lighting candles in the dark. Because he brought me back, and because she asked me to help the mommies, and because I am no longer ashamed, I am forgiven, healed, and free.